We've all heard the story of David and Goliath. Well, what we're about to break down is a modern-day version of that, but it's being fought with smart bombs and, believe it or not, even smarter thinking. We're going to deconstruct how one nation, that's seriously outgunned and outspent, is basically rewriting the rules of modern warfare. This isn't about fighting fire with fire, it's about changing the entire game. So here's the central question, right? After a really devastating attack on its leadership, everyone, and I mean everyone, expected Iran to just fold within hours. But instead, it's landing these huge, shocking blows against some of the most powerful militaries on the planet. How on earth is that even possible? Okay, so to really get how we got here, we've got to rewind the tape a bit, back to the moment this whole thing kicked off. The world was watching, and pretty much everyone thought they knew exactly how this story was going to end. So it starts on February 28th. A major strike hits Iran's leadership. The world holds its breath, just waiting for the inevitable surrender announcement. But that collapse never happened. Instead, just a few days later, Iran unleashes this massive wave of counterattacks. And within weeks, the tables had turned so dramatically that the global superpower was actually on the defensive, pulling back huge assets like the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. And look, this wasn't just some symbolic tap on the wrist. Iran's missiles completely obliterated the giant ANFPS-132 early warning radar in Qatar. That is a $1.1 billion piece of hardware, the biggest of its kind in the entire Middle East, and it was just gone. That single strike sent a crystal clear message. Iran was playing a totally different, and frankly, a terrifyingly effective game. But here's the real kicker. The true genius of Iran's strategy isn't just about hitting military targets. The real war, the one they're actually winning, is being fought on spreadsheets. And this is where it all becomes so clear. The economic math is just staggering. Iran can whip up one of its Shahid drones for about 20 grand. Now, to shoot down that one drone, the US and its allies might have to fire a Patriot interceptor missile that costs around $4 million. You do not need to be a military genius to see that that is a losing equation. So it all boils down to this absolutely insane ratio. Some estimates say that for every single dollar Iran spends on an attack, its opponents have to shell out as much as $28 just to defend against it. This is pure economic warfare. It's a strategy designed to literally bankrupt the defender. And this isn't some far-off theoretical problem. It's an immediate crisis. A Bloomberg report revealed that after those first attacks, Qatar privately warned the US that their entire stockpile of those multi-million-dollar Patriot interceptors could be gone in just 4 days. It just proves a terrifyingly simple point. You can't win a fight if you run out of bullets. So how exactly are they pulling this off? Well, you can think of it as guerrilla warfare for the 21st century. First, they'll launch a bunch of old, cheap missiles, just to get their opponents to waste their expensive interceptors. Then they follow up with swarms of those cheap kamikaze drones. And get this is my favorite part. They've even used simple paintings of fighter jets on tarmacs to fool enemy pilots into wasting smart bombs on, well, a literal art project. It's brilliant. But this all raises a really important question. How did Iran, a country that's been under crippling sanctions for decades, managed to build such an effective and clever arsenal? Well, the answer is one of the greatest ironies in modern military history. The whole story starts back in 2011. Iran somehow manages to capture a top-of-the-line American RQ-170 Sentinel drone, almost completely intact. And they didn't just study it, they took it apart piece by piece, and they reverse engineered it. This directly led to them creating their whole Shahid series of drones, including the now infamous Shahid 136. And in a plot twist that sounds like it's from a movie, the US has now been forced to reverse engineer Iran's copy of its own drone, creating a new weapon called Locus. Just think about that. America is now copying the copy. So what exactly is this game-changing weapon? Well, the Shahid 136 is pretty simple. It's basically a 200-kilogram flying bomb. It's not fast, but it has a huge 2,000-kilometer range. Its real power, though, isn't in how fancy it is, but in how many there are. They're launched in massive swarms designed to be a problem that's just too big and too expensive for even the most advanced defense systems to handle. And this wasn't some last-minute plan. Iran has been getting ready for exactly this kind of fight for a very long time. Since way back in 1984, they've been digging out these huge, secret missile cities deep underground.
We're talking kilometers of tunnels built to hide, protect, and launch this massive arsenal whenever they need to.
Okay, so they have the tactics, they have the weapons. How do they actually use them? Well, they're aimed at a very specific target, one of the most legendary air defense systems ever made, Israel's multi-layered shield, which includes the famous Iron Dome. Now, you have to appreciate Israel's defense system is a technological marvel. It has three main layers. Way up high, you've got the Arrow system, which takes out long-range threats in the upper atmosphere. In the middle, there's David's sling for medium-range missiles. And then, for that last line of defense, you've got the Iron Dome, catching all the short-range stuff. On paper, it looks completely impenetrable. But Iran's strategy is designed specifically to break that impenetrable system. It's called volley firing. See, instead of sending just one type of threat, they throw everything at the wall at the same time. Hundreds of those cheap drones to act as decoys, low-flying cruise missiles to sneak in under the radar, and high-speed ballistic missiles to punch right through. It's a coordinated symphony of chaos. And the result is devastatingly simple. The defense system wastes all of its expensive interceptors trying to shoot down the slow, cheap drones. This empties the magazines, it confuses the radar systems, and in that split second of chaos and saturation, the real missiles, the more powerful ones, find their path and hit their targets. And after that first wave has punched holes in the shield, a second wave comes. And this wave includes things like the Fattah-2 hypersonic missile. We're talking Mach 15. That's 15 times the speed of sound, and it can change direction while it's in the air. For the technology we have today, it is simply unstoppable. So, what does this all mean when you put it together? We are literally watching a fundamental shift in military strategy. That old idea of whoever has the most expensive, most advanced tech always wins, well, that idea is now being seriously challenged. Let me put it this way. Think about the dilemma facing a country like India right now. For $3.5 billion, they could buy 31 state-of-the-art Predator drones. Or, for the exact same amount of money, they could build an arsenal of 70,000 kamikaze drones and use Iran's playbook. It perfectly highlights the strategic choice that nations are now facing. Do you bet on expensive sophistication or do you bet on inexpensive mass? Which brings us to our final thought here. This conflict is proving, in real time, that a creative, asymmetric strategy can completely level the playing field, even against overwhelming technological and economic power. And it forces us to ask a really important question about the future of warfare. When smart thinking is the primary weapon, what does a smart bomb